Playa del Carmen, east of the Yucatan area in East Mexico, home to 300,000 citizens out of the 128 million people that live in Mexico, and yearly good for more than 1 million tourists visiting, which is still little compared to Cancun, which is a little bit more up north, that has more than 15 million visitors every year. And since I lived and worked for a month in Playa del Carmen, I thought would it be nice again to make a video just like I did with Krakow in Poland and Malaga in Spain. So in this video we are going to discuss exactly how much money I spent. Now the currencies that are used there is sometimes the euro, the dollar or the Mexican pesos, but to make everything as easy as possible I have converted everything to the US dollars. So before we are going to dive into all the numbers, please do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, click on the bell, click on all so you don't miss anything. Leave me a comment or share this video with your friends if you think that's useful. Now without further ado, let's get started. First, we are going to start off with accommodations. Now, I rented out two places. One was a little bit less than $1,500 a month and the other one was a little bit more than $1,500 a month. So let's take the average $1,500 a month. That is also a little bit the average in the city itself, although the prices has gone up lately tremendously. If you are now searching for places to stay in Playa del Carmen in the month of March in 2022, it almost kind of starts off at $2,000, $2,200 a month. It's ridiculous. And if you look at what the average is in this area, what you see right here in this picture, then you see that the average is $2,800 for the same month. That is absolutely mind-blowing. Now, I have a theory about this, and that is that Mexico and especially the Yucatan area, Cancun, Playa del Carmen and Tulum has kind of became an getaway or a safe haven when it comes down to tourism and COVID, because the restriction here in Mexico is not so harsh. It's quite easily to get into the country. A lot of people sometimes get a 6-month visa. So what I noticed, without getting all too political, is that sometimes a lot of anti-vaxxers or people who want to escape their country are coming to Mexico. That causes for a huge flood and a huge demand in the market, and the homeowners are just taking advantage of it. And yeah, if you ask me personally, I think it's unfair, it is ridiculous, and it's even mean to ask so much money for a place. But apparently people are still willing to pay for it. And what you're getting sometimes for the money, just a very, very simple basic apartment. It's actually ridiculous. If you think about it, would you pay so much money in your hometown or your home country per month on a simple apartment? Most likely not. So it just kind of, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Now, is there something cheaper than this? Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, so I paid $1,500. There are possibilities to find this. It's even cheaper than that, $1,000. But really keep in mind then you're just getting a room with a bed, and maybe when you're lucky a tiny bathroom where you can brush your teeth, and that's it. There's no seating area, there's no dining table. A lot of times you cannot cook. So yeah, if you're paying somewhere between $800 and $1,000, it's pretty bad for what you're getting. $1,500, that's kind of where it starts off. $2,800, as you just could have seen, is right now the average in March 2022. If we're looking at transportation in and around the sea, there are quite a lot of options actually, to be honest. For instance, you can rent a bicycle. They're not very cheap, $12 a day, and you can also rent them by the hour. Personally, I find that a lot of money because if you think about it, the guy who rents out the bicycles, if it's $12 a day, 30 days in a row, at the end of the month he can most likely buy a new bicycle. So I think the price is quite high. There is also another option which I used and which I would highly recommend. It works perfectly, and that is to use the busy bike system in the city itself. You can rent a bicycle for the entire day for a little bit less than 100 pesos, which is approximately $4. And every ride that you take cannot be longer than 30 minutes. And they have these stations all over town. So once you download the app, you can just unlock a bicycle once you're in front of it with the app. You can take the bicycle, cycle all the way to the other side of town, which takes you approximately half an hour. So you can really go from one place to another. And then you just drop the bike again in one of these stations. It automatically locks, and that's it. Now, of course, you can also take just a regular taxi. My advice would be stay away from the major strips and close to the beach, because they are asking ridiculously high prices. And every taxi that you get in, negotiate first, because they just see right away that's a tourist. They're asking pretty high prices, so you kind of need to try to negotiate. If they say 100 pesos, usually what I did is named 50 or 60 pesos. They come back with 75 or 80, and that's kind of what you're getting. If you have an honest taxi driver, then from one side to the town to the other should actually only be a few dollars. The first day I arrived, I was absolutely exhausted and I had a lot of gear that I needed to take with me, and then I needed to pay like $6 or $7 for literally a 3 or 4 minute car drive. That was probably the most the guy ever made in such a short time. But that was also right away a lesson learned that it doesn't have to be so expensive. So really be careful with those taxis and always negotiate. You can also choose to rent a car. The smallest and cheapest options start off with $40 to $45 a day. Do you really need it on a daily basis? I don't think so. Like I said, some distances you can actually really walk. Really depends a little bit on where you are in the city. If you need to go from one side to another, then we're talking about somewhere between 5 and 10 miles, or like there's around 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers. If you really take all the way from the left to the right of the city, but everything is pretty compact. So if you don't mind walking, you can actually pretty much walk everywhere or take the bicycle. So to really rent a car every day is maybe a little bit ridiculous. Another big downside is that a lot of these rental companies try to upsell you all kinds of stuff with insurances, all kinds of extra packages. And if you Google for them, the ratings are pretty bad. There are a lot of scammer stories out there. So yes, I rented a car once for just one day. Also something went wrong with the rental, something went wrong with the deposit. Actually all the stories that I read and everywhere where I came, there were a little bit of negative stories. So if you really need to rent a car, just be very careful. Something that I recommend you to use, especially if you stay in the Yucatan area where you can pretty much go everywhere with the bus, is to use a company called ADO Bus. And that is a very big company. You always recognize them because they have big red buses. They are comfy, they're aircon, they have a lot of space, and they run perfectly on time. Also all the locals use these buses, so if you need to go from one city or another, or you have a few hours ride, then take this. The prices are pretty fair and it just works so well. So definitely check that out if you want to travel all over the Yucatan area. Another option that you can pick in Playa del Carmen, or maybe to go from Playa del Carmen to another city, is to use a so-called colectivo. Those are tiny white minivans. They're always pretty packed and jumped, and they drive all over the city. Those are super cheap. You can really drive from one side of the town to another for just like $2-3. They run very frequently. Google first to see what kind of locations you need to stand alongside the road. That's where they stop. You just holler at them, get in, and they will always charge you a fixed price. So far, never had any scammers. Always super fair. Just really check where they're going, because some of them just stay within Playa del Carmen and others just drive to Tulum or maybe to Cancun. And also here you can just drive up and down for only a few dollars. So definitely check that out. It's a real Mexican experience, I can promise you that. Like I said, they're very safe, they're very cheap, and they run very frequently. Now when it comes down to all my transportation, I use the BC bike. I once rented a car and had a few taxis and collectivos and also the ADO buses. So everything all together that I spent in that month was $87. Then food and drinks. Well, that can be super cheap. I found places where they sell tacos for just $1, burritos for just $3 or $4, and with a meal for 2 people and 2 drinks, you can be done with $10 to $12 in total. Now that is very cheap and fairly priced. But because Playa del Carmen has grown so much lately and also so many restaurants popped up, and to be honest, the variety is amazing. You can get anything you want, but also the prices in many places has gone up quite fast. So that means that if you don't watch out and you just walk into a regular place, you can pay $30, $40 to $50 for your meal. And if you then also take one of those delicious cocktails, you can easily hit 3 numbers before the comma. So try to be a little bit careful, because you can get a taco for $1 and you can have a meal with a few cocktails for more than $100. And when we're talking about taco for $1, I quickly want to go back to what I said about accommodation, because think about it. If the average price for an accommodation is $2,800 and you can get a taco on the side of the street for $1, you know that something is out of balance. And that's also what I mean, that it makes me a little bit mad, and I find it mean of the people that they raise the price of the accommodation so much if you can just really get your food for a few dollars. That is just something, it is out of balance, and someone has to do something about this. Then of course my spending, well, I spent in total $500. Usually I have breakfast at home, sometimes lunch at home, but actually always dinner outside. I tend to go to the not so expensive places. Yes, I've seen there, and I also had food there once or twice, but like I said, if you don't watch out, you can easily spend $30, $40, $50 a night. Do that a few weeks in a row and it really adds up. So I think on average I ate pretty cheap. So my $500 I would say is not the average. I think the average may be a little bit higher. But yeah, it is possible, absolutely, and especially when you eat more inside or you even go to cheaper places, you can be underneath those $500. But like I said, $500, that's what I spent. I think it's just below the average. Then let's go to the activities, because there is a lot to do in and around Playa del Carmen. But if you don't watch out, also this can be quite pricey quite fast. I am going to name you just a handful of things of all the stuff that you can do there, and after that I'll also tell you what I have done there and of course how much money I spent. For example, you can take a nice and relaxing massage for an hour. That will set you back somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 pesos, which is somewhere between $50 and $75. Go on a jet ski for 30 minutes will cost you $75 to $80. Now if you want to relax at one of the many beach clubs they have there, that will usually cost you somewhere between $30 and $50. Now that is not only the entrance fee and the fact that you can lay on one of their sunbeds. Usually you can also then right away use that money to spend it at the bar or the cafe or the restaurant what they have there. And if you think that Playa del Carmen is only gold sandy beaches and crystal blue water just like you see on Google, well then I have very bad news for you. It is nothing like that. Matter of fact, the whole beach is almost completely gone. There's just a huge line of hotels, resorts, beach clubs, and there is barely any public beach left. And once there is some part of the public beach left, then it is usually very packed and very jammed. And it is actually just a circus going on the entire day, because if your neighbor is not playing loud music, there's just people coming by offering you food, drinks, clothes, mariachi bands. It just goes on and on and on for the entire day. So go to one of the beaches, lay down for an hour and chill and relax and read your bookie. Forget about it. It's not going to happen. Another cool thing that you can do there is go free diving. Free diving is literally just diving without air. You're just taking one breath of air and you're going down. There are a few diving schools. They have tremendously good ratings. I did a course there. And actually they were very good. So if that is a dream of you, then definitely check that out. Most of these dive schools, they offer all kinds of courses, days, trips, and the prices vary from $380 for a course to approximately $100 to get an instructor to go with you into the water. Like I said, there's just so much more that you can do or see there. Now if you like to have a little bit more air, then you can go scuba diving, of course. I'm also a certified scuba diver, and what is very famous and what is very popular to do in Playa del Carmen is a certain period in the year, of course right now, is when people are want to dive with so-called bull sharks. Those are just the big sharks. They come into that area because the female sharks are pregnant and they come there to get all the baby sharks. You can do multiple tours to check that out. One of them is of course then just the scuba diving. That starts off at $135. Now you can also choose to do a scuba diving feeding session, is when you go down scuba diving and then instructors feed the bull sharks. That will set you back $150. Personally, I would not recommend you to do this because sharks are already predators from nature. So I think it's very unnatural if human beings start feeding certain animals, and it does not only go for sharks but also for maybe elephants or monkeys or whatever. So try to avoid those kinds of tours or scuba diving when they're offered. Just ask for the non-feeding scuba dives, and then you're just laying down at the bottom of the ocean, you're observing the sharks, and then after somewhere between half an hour, you're going back up again, and to be honest, you see exactly the same. Of course, it is your choice, but that will be my recommendation. Now, if you want to go diving on Cozumel, that will cost you approximately $165. Cozumel is an island just in front of the coast. It's probably something like a half an hour boat ride, so that is why you pay a little bit more. Cozumel is very, very beautiful for diving. So if you don't want to dive from Playa del Carmen, then just take the boat to the island, find a diving school there, and then do some diving trips. It's really, really worth the money, although it's a little bit more expensive. You can also go diving in so-called cenotes. That will set you back approximately $140 a day. Now, if you don't know what cenotes are, I can totally understand. It is something very typical from that area. Cenotes are flooded caves, and they are sometimes already tens of thousands or even millions of years old. It's very, very beautiful to go there. And to enter these cenotes, well, it's pretty cheap actually. Sometimes between $5 and $10, and you can spend there at least a few hours. Now, once you are in Playa del Carmen, you will without a doubt see all kinds of ads about Chichen Itza and other Maya ruins. I would actually recommend you to visit some of them. Well, to go to the Chichen Itza from Playa del Carmen is actually quite a drive. It's a few hours up and a few hours down. But what you can also do is visit some of the ruins in Tulum, which is pretty close by, somewhere between 30 minutes and an hour, and you're there. Not only is it very accessible, it is also very cheap. You can get a ticket for approximately 100 pesos, which is not more than just $4. Now, if you're looking to do something more active, you can also take yoga classes. The average what you pay for that is $15 an hour. And if you like dancing, then I would recommend you to take some salsa lessons, and they go as cheap as $2 for an hour. Yes, you heard that correctly. Not more than just 50 pesos per hour. So then, of course, my cost. Well, I did a free diving course, some diving, went to some of the ruins and took a massage, and I did some other small trips here and there. All in all, I spent $715. That is quite high compared to what I paid in other cities and other places. Also compared to the total amount that I spent during this month. But there was just so much to do, and I really thought, am I going to regret it if I don't do it? Most likely. So that's why I just spent quite some money on activities in that month. Not only is Playa del Carmen very popular for people who go on a holiday, also a lot of digital nomads are calling it their home right now, and you also see that in the amount of co-working spaces. I did not go to a co-working space because I could always work from home. I mean, the internet was pretty fast. But if you have, let's say, a cheap place, or you don't have a place to work at, you can go to one of these co-working spaces. If you just simple Google for it, you will already find that there are tons of co-working spaces popping up. Day passes start off with $10 to $12, and a monthly pass starts off with $150 up to $250. You can also go to just a regular cafe. There are actually quite some cafes that are open to digital nomads, and they can say, hey, you can work here the entire day. Also there, usually the Wi-Fi is pretty fast. Of course, you also need to order some food and some drinks. And yeah, if you then need to spend money anyways, you will also most likely pay approximately $10 on your food and drink on a cafe. So that will be almost the same as the day pass at the co-working space. And then now it's time to sum up all of my amounts, and as you can see, I have spent approximately $2,800 in a month, and most of the amount is due to the accommodation and the activities. Now, to be completely honest, I could have probably knocked off a few $100s if I didn't do so many activities, but like I said, when I was there, I just wanted to do fun stuff. I thought, am I going to regret it? Probably will regret it if I don't do it, so well, why not treat myself for a little bit? So you probably could have knocked off a little bit of money. If you want to go there now, I gotta be honest with you, I don't know if this is enough because the rental prices just went completely through the roof. So yeah, this might not be the most budget-friendly place to go to. Now, to be completely transparent, Playa del Carmen is not one of my favorite places in Mexico. Yes, the food is amazing, the people are very nice, there's a lot to do, but I feel like the beach is completely ruined by all the hotels, resorts, and beach bars. And other than that, you also have a lot of salespeople everywhere that are trying to sell you food, drinks, clothes, drugs. I don't know, it doesn't give me that very relaxing vibe that you are looking for, maybe that you want to stroll to town, because especially on 5th Avenue, there's like the major tourist strip. Every 2-3 meters, people are trying to lure you into their store, into their restaurant. You're getting completely crazy. So yeah, that for me is just a big downside. And of course, I also have to address it. In the last 12 months, not only in Playa del Carmen, but also in Cancun and Tulum, there's been quite some news about rivaling gang members, about shootings, about drugs. That is just something that happens. I mean, I can ignore it and not talk about it on the channel at all, but that is just the truth right now. And every time when some of the news came out, it doesn't matter if it was in Playa del Carmen or in Tulum or in Cancun, people were just a little bit afraid of like, oh, have you heard the news? Oh, this happened, that happened. And yeah, then after 48 hours, it kind of wore off again and life just kind of continued. But to say that it gives you a very safe, nice, chill vibe feeling, no, not really. So that was my brutally honest and transparent review when it comes down to working and living 1 month in Playa del Carmen, east of Mexico. Now, if you like this kind of videos, please do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, click on the bell, click on all so you don't miss anything. Leave me a comment or share this video with your friends if you think this is useful. Also, feel free to add me on Twitter and Instagram. Links are in the description. If you are a beginning entrepreneur and you don't know which business to get in yet, I have made a video that can help you out about how to pick the perfect business model. I will put a link somewhere right now, pops up to the video that you can click on, and it might help you out a lot. And if you like trading and technical stuff, then also feel free to check out the second channel. That is the trading channel. There will be a link somewhere on this channel linked to the other YouTube channel. All right, I hope that was clear. Thank you guys so much again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye-bye.